So more and more people are starting to understand the significant health issues that can go along with insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes that go way beyond just, oh, I gained a bunch of weight and now my pants don't fit. So more and more people are becoming concerned with this. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand some very common cooking mistakes that science is now showing us can lead to insulin resistance and even type 2 diabetes. So when we're looking at these cooking errors, we really need to understand glycation. And this is basically where sugars bond to proteins or fats in the body. And the things that cause this are called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, like all cool kids call them. And so it's sort of like when this glycation is happening, it's like these collagen fibers are being bound together and they become more stiff and they're not flexible and they don't function correctly. And it can lead to a lot of problems like, cognitive issues and dementia and cardiovascular problems, and that list can go on and on. So these AGEs are basically aging us from the inside and making our organs and all of our body not function as well, but they can also age us from the outside and make us look like Jed Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies. And if you know who that is, you may already be old enough to look like Jed Clampett. So we really want to understand the things that really magnify this glycation. And for a long time, we just thought that the AGEs that are created in the body when glucose kind of attaches to proteins and fats were the only trouble. But now science is showing us that the AGEs that we bring in from the food selections that we make, some foods have a lot higher AGEs than others, and then the way that we cook those foods can also elevate those AGEs. So the AGEs that we're bringing into the body can also be problematic. Now, it was always very common to see very high AGEs with hyperglycemia or high blood sugar levels. And we would see it a lot with type 2 diabetics, and I was like, well, why wouldn't you see that? The person's like a popsicle, they have all this sugar in the system, so anytime they consume proteins or fats, they're setting the body up to be an AGE factory. So yeah, they would have a lot of AGEs, and now we're seeing high AGEs with this insulin resistance, so that makes sense. But let's look at this study here on advanced glycation end products and diabetes, cause, effect, or both. And they say a major cause for this inflammation is excessive consumption of advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, with the standard Western diet. AGEs, which were largely thought as oxidative derivatives resulting from diabetic hyperglycemia, are increasingly seen as potential risks for islet beta cell injury, peripheral insulin resistance, and diabetes. So they're saying that this seems to have the ability to damage those cells that produce the insulin for us. So now we're going to create problems with insulin production. And it also seems that the oxidative stress that can go along with these high levels of AGEs has the ability to restrict the cells from responding to this insulin. But let's look at this other study, and I'm going to put the links in the description below this video for all these studies so you can dig into them a little bit more. But the study I really liked was this one on restriction of advanced glycation end products improves insulin resistance in human type 2 diabetes. And they basically took these type 2 diabetics and they said, we want you to change the way that you're cooking your food. We don't want you to change what you're eating or the calorie intake, just the way that you're cooking it to reduce the level of AGEs that are coming into the system. So they asked them to do more boil, poach, stew, or steam cooking, and they asked them to avoid frying, baking, and grilling, or high heat, high dry heat cooking like that. So high dry heat cooking has the ability to really magnify the level of AGEs. So they're just asking them, let's do more poaching things instead of grilling or pan frying. Now this change in the way that they were cooking without changing what they were eating reduced the level of AGEs that were coming into their system by 40 to 50%. So they did this for 4 months, and what they discovered was unbelievable. They said AGE restriction by 50% without altering nutrient intake led to markedly lower levels of SCML and SMG, as well as 8 isoprostanes in type 2 diabetic subjects Plasma insulin, HOMA, and leptin levels were also decreased by 30% below baseline by AGE restriction. So all those fancy scientific words basically mean that they looked at the markers that show the level of AGEs in the system, and they looked at the levels that show how insulin resistant a person is, and they improved by 30%. Are you kidding me? Get out of my pants. That's unbelievable. Just by changing the way that they were cooking. Now, keep in mind when you're applying this information to yourself, we want to think about, well, the body is made to remove AGEs. The problem is when they go to such a high level, it can overwhelm the body, and now we create all of this trouble. Especially the way that people eat processed carbohydrates and sugars these days, and we're kind of sugarifying the system, so there's already a lot of AGEs being produced in the body, and then when we cook in a way that brings in a lot more, we're really putting gas on the fire. So what's important to understand is, yes, your sugar levels in the body are important when it comes to glycation, but your food choices count in a big way. The way that you cook that food counts in a big way. And there's also supplements that you can use that give you a little bit more freedom. They're not a magic get out of jail free card. I'm going to do whatever I want as long as I take these supplements. But they can help reduce that AGE production a little bit and give you a little bit more freedom in the way that you're eating. So most people are not going to have to only cook by boil, poaching, stewing, or steaming. They can cook by some of these other methods some way, but it really depends on what's the situation in your body, how severe is the trouble, and how much do you need to do the right way. So a person probably doesn't have to do everything right. In our video on why I stopped cooking in butter, we explained that when someone just sautés foods in something like beef tallow or coconut oil or something other than butter, it can drastically reduce the AGEs instead of sautéing in butter. Now remember, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving anybody medical advice, so if your doctor told you to sauté everything in butter, then you would want to talk to your doctor about that. Don't listen to me, but I'll have these studies linked below so that you can maybe ask your doctor, why do you want my AGEs to be so high? But we can see that there's really simple steps that we can take to reduce the level of AGEs that we're bringing into the system and reduce the burden that the body is dealing with. So if you want to learn more about these different food choices that have higher AGEs and different cooking methods and the supplements, we'll link all of those videos in the description below this video. But if you want to learn about these supplements that can help you maybe cheat a little bit, then you can jump over right now and check out that video on the 3 top supplements that can reduce glycation. I can't wait to hear about your results.